We need more realistic representations of body standards in the media.
I agree. Should I show you my realistic body? Listen, I'm doing this for the video because I'm actually really self-conscious, but I still want to do it. And I've been working out for like a year, and I kind of want to unironically just be like, hey, here's the progress that I've made in my fitness. I'm not... I'm super self-conscious, okay? Don't make fun of me, dude! Okay? So, there's the top. There's the tricep. There's that. That's getting a little bit better. A little more of, I guess, a realistic body type. All right, guys. Enough. Shush. Shut up. We got a little bit of a break from the drama, which I like because we get to do other stuff that's a little different. And this video looks interesting to me. The male body image crisis. And then you got a guy who's got a lot of Synthol in his body, which basically just pads your muscles to look, well, to be honest with you, a lot of professional bodybuilders will use a little bit of it to kind of fill out weak areas, but there's some people who just do this. That's not good. So I'm curious, man, because I think I have a lot to say about this. So let's go.
In 2012,
from Cole Hastings, by the way. Wow.
A man named Romario dos Santos Alves walked into a bodybuilding.
That guy looks good too.
Gym.
Like he looks.
In 2012,
like he looks good. Isn't it so strange though that like now, like he looks good, but like he doesn't look big. But he's a pretty big, muscular guy. But nowadays, with everything that you're seeing on TV, he looks small, right? Like, it's crazy the way that we're at. Like, if you look at bodybuilders from, you know, the past, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a really fit guy. Let me show you. Like, if you look at peak Arnold, he's a really big, muscular guy, right? Very aesthetic. He's a very aesthetic looking guy. But then you look at somebody like Ronnie Coleman, and the guy is just massive. He's so much bigger than Arnold. Like, the dude's massive. And this is just where the bodybuilding's kind of gone, is in this really interesting space where it's about being as big as possible, right? Like, the difference between these two is insane. Like, he looks good. This is now this is like physique. When you do bodybuilding, this is like more of like a classic physique, I think is what they call the category. But this is insane. It's wild. It's just crazy. I feel like there is like a little bit of a strange expectation for men when it comes down to this.
A man named Romario dos Santos Alves walked into a bodybuilding gym in Goiânia, Brazil. As he made his way through the gym, he noticed that...
Oh my God. That's incredible. This is what my balls look like when I sit down, because I have big fat thighs and it squishes them right here. What the hell?
Many of the men working out had massive arms that were almost cartoon-like in size.
Dude, I don't even know how. It's like, you thinking that this looks good is wild to me.
Curious and interested in becoming as big as possible, he asked them what they did to
I don't understand.
Build their arms. And that was when they...
Arnold was also on steroids. Well, yeah, they're all on steroids.
Introduced him to something called Synthol.
I thought it was Synthol, but okay, Synthol, whatever.
Substance, a mixture of oil, alcohol, and lidocaine, is injected into the muscles to enlarge...
That's crazy. That's what I eat. That's like every Italian breakfast, dude. Well, it's not every Italian meal. Oil and alcohol?
them without the need for extra exercise. Romario started injecting himself...
You put it in there and you just do a little bit of exercise and it puffs it up. It's weird.
...regularly and found the immediate results to be addicting. But that added size didn't come without a price. After taking...
You just look cartoon. It just doesn't look good. I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you want to just do regular exercise to build... I mean, it's exhausting, I guess, but...
Synthol for under a year, small rocks started to form in his biceps due to the calcification of the muscle tissue in synthetic oil.
Who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thought?
He experienced tremendous daily pain and was told by his doctor that they were going to have...
That's how I feel after squatting, dude. Tremendous daily pain. But it's worth the gains, baby. It's worth the gains. I showed you already. We're showing you again, dude. On segment. It's worth the gains, dude. There it is, dude. Not bad. For a big fat guy, that's not bad. But I'm just always in pain. Soreness pain, not like significant pain. Look at my wife looking at my butt. That's how you know it's true love, baby.
Have to amputate his arms.
What? Wait, what?
Tremendous daily pain and was told by his doctor that they were going to have to amputate his arms.
Oh my God, there goes his anchor arms.
Romario fell into a deep depression and even attempted to unalive himself before the procedure. But when he went in to get a CAT scan, he was graced with a fortunate stroke of luck. After reviewing the results, the doctor told him that they did not have to amputate his arms, but they would have to perform surgery to get rid of the calcification.
Yeah, no kidding.
Although Romario doesn't dabble with Synthol anymore,
well, where's pictures of him now? Like, did his body go back to like kind of like a more normal state?
His desire to become a professional bodybuilder remains.
I just don't understand, because like this would never win on any stage. Like there's no, this professional bodybuilder, like these guys, like I don't know if you guys know what bodybuilding is supposed to be. You're supposed to sculpt yourself to look like good in whatever, you know, the desired goal is to look like whatever the you know, bodybuilding constructed, you know, whatever, you're supposed to look good based on what looking good is for the times. Like Arnold back in the day was more aesthetic. Nowadays, it's like being as big of a turtle as possible with a huge back. But this would never fit the bill. So you thinking like, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder. Let me inject myself with Synthol. You're not like, you have to have some kind of body dysmorphia, worse than other people that do bodybuilding, in order to think that this would ever qualify. Like that's insane. I don't know.
And led him to explore other types of substances like horse tranquilizer.
What the fuck?
There are many other stories like Romario of men who are unsatisfied with their physiques, going to extreme measures to appear like Greek gods. Or
what Greek god looked like this? What the fuck?
Or Marvel characters. But some of them don't end up being as lucky as he was. For the average person, this might seem incomprehensible. How could someone become so addicted to the idea of being big that they resort to drugs that they know will ruin their life?
Well, it's funny because we're talking about Synthol, but like at the end of the day, that's a lot of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a very grueling, horrific, demanding, unhealthy sport where you have people putting insane and incredible amounts of work into their body, but it is not good for their body. I mean, Ronnie Coleman's an extreme example. The guy can't even walk anymore, and he's on like a pain scale of like 7 out of 10 every single day waking up. Guys like Jay Cutler who do it the right way, they're in a good spot. But like bodybuilding in general is like abusing your body. You are beating yourself up. You're taking time off of your life just so that you can look good. And the achievement is great. Like a lot of these people look great, and I appreciate the craft, and I think it's incredible. But I mean, that's all bodybuilding. This is just a more extreme example because not only do they do that, but they also look terrible at the same time, which I feel bad.
But the trend of pursuing an increasingly unattainable
See, this guy looks good. Well, he looks good too.
Physique has begun to spread to a more vulnerable demographic.
Can I just tell you though?
Doing an
like, this is the one time. I'm gonna be absolutely honest with you. This is the one time where black people are lucky, right? Because there's a lot of unluckiness, especially in America, associated with being black. But in bodybuilding, you ever notice these guys on stage, they tan themselves up so dark because the darker your skin, the better, you know, your shreds and cuts look. And so this is the one time where it's like, you know, you don't got to do that if you're a black guy. You just naturally got that, you know, really nice Egyptian tan. You got to be, you know, it really just makes everything pop. It's incredible.
Increasingly unattainable physique has begun to spread to a more vulnerable demographic.
Yeah, young men.
Young teenage boys.
True.
Bigorexia, a body dysmorphic disorder where an individual obsesses over their muscle mass, has reached a level of serious concern in the fitness industry. One study estimates that 1 in 10 bodybuilders are affected by bigorexia, and other studies
sounds silly.
Have estimated that the prevalence of muscle dysphoria was 5.9% among college students and between 13.6% and 44% among male weightlifters. Why is there such a large gap between the actual numbers? Well, partly because it isn't being talked about enough, but also because it's very hard to identify. Most people with this condition appear outwardly healthy, but inside, they are dealing with a mental battle that can lead to severe depression and anxiety.
Yeah, like maybe like Sam Sulek. It's interesting because we live in a time where we talk a lot about women's body image issues, which is valid because women are judged based on their body to, in my opinion, greater degree than men. But we did not talk about male body image issues. And I think that there's 2 huge ways that this manifests. Number one is people who are abusing like performance enhancing drugs and other things and doing bodybuilding. You got these guys that look that are like 20 years old that look like 30 or 40. I forget what those guys are, like the Trend Twins or whatever. But then like, this is going to sound silly. There's also like porn. Like, nobody talks about it, but, you know, if you're a young man and you have, like, an average-sized pickle and you're watching porn, these guys are they're swinging around fucking meat sticks, and you're just like, well, compared to this guy, I'm inadequate, and all these girls love it, right? And you're like, girls aren't going to like me unless I have a big dick, and that fucks you up in the head. But then you get older, and you realize that, like, if there are guys that have different sizes of their beef hog, there's girls with different sizes of their meat sleeve. Okay? Just to be clear. So, you know, maybe you're an average dude. There's an average the cooter. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So you don't have to stress about it. But then there's also another part of it too, and I feel like is young men, there's growers and there's showers. I feel like if you're a grower, a little self-conscious because you're like, oh, there's nothing going on there unless you're torqued out of your fucking mind. Which is good when you're in class. You know, usually you don't want, or it's good when you're trying to zipper up your zipper, but could add to the could add to it. You know what I'm saying?
How do I know? Because I was one of those men too.
Whoa.
So let's try to shine some light.
Damn, he looked good. I mean, he looks good now too.
On this under-researched realm of body dysmorphia and explore why bigorexia is on the rise. In order to understand how we got here, we must first understand where this crisis started.
Like, look at these guys. They look good, but by today's standards, they're like nothing. Like, today's standards, they're like above average.
The world of competitive bodybuilding. Bodybuilding as a sport and resistance training solely for the purpose of improving one's aesthetics wasn't popularized until the 1940s, when contests like Mr. America and Mr. Universe put more eyes on the scene. The contestants' physiques, though nothing crazy to our current generation, were seen as abnormally large during this time. But this level of impressive physique was about to be inflated forever with the introduction of one drug.
It's like this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, God bless him, but it's like, what the hell? What the fuck is this?
Steroids.
Oh, well, that's not one drug, isn't it? It's like 20 drugs.
Anabolic steroids are
You got your test, your Anavar, your Tren, your Clan. You know, so some people, what do they think? Some people think creatine is one too.
Synthetic derivative of testosterone designed to enhance the hormone's muscle-building properties. In the 1970s, bodybuilding reached what is known as the golden era and hit the mainstream through the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane,
Can't say it like that.
and Dorian Yates, all of
Dude, that guy's got a barnyard back, baby.
whom use steroids regularly. It exposed an entire generation of fitness enthusiasts to a new level of physique.
Well, this was also the time where they were like, oh, we don't use PEDs. You got like Mike O'Hearn, who's all natty. When these guys are on shit, and they can't admit that, I understand it because it's like illegal and all that, and I totally get it. But then I feel like there's young men that are like, oh, these guys, they're not on gear, and like they get that big, and then they get like distressed that they can't hit that level at size. But it's like, yeah, they're on gear, dude. Like, okay. And you still work hard if you're on, like, you know, PEDs, but it's like, you know, it's a little easier.
It wouldn't be seen as a desirable or achievable level of physique for many years to come. You see, during this time, bodybuilders were still seen as genetic freaks. On Muscle Beach, a public gym that most of the biggest bodybuilders in the scene went to, people would view the likes of Arnold and Frank as a spectacle. More than anything, outrageously huge bodybuilders clearly taking some kind of performance-enhancing drugs were like zoo animals. A fun thing to look at, but not something that most kids would look up to. But now that steroids were starting to hit the mainstream, the doors of opportunity to raise the standards of what was considered a great physique were wide open. The portrayal of masculinity in pop culture and other forms of media has always had a firm grip on young men. Before we know
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, guys aspire to be masculine. Like, we want to be masculine. We want to be appear as masculine. It's a cool thing to do, you know?
who we are or who we want to become, we have always looked to those ideals presented to us to give us direction.
See, that was back when we did a lot of fun. This was back when we did a lot of fun, you know, Christian propaganda about being a real man and being faithful and all this other stuff, you know? That was what a fun time.
To become, we have always looked to those ideals presented to us to give us direction. Usually these ideals offer more positives than negatives, but in the case of outwardly appearances, it's reaching the ends of extreme. What is considered a strong male physique in movies, for example, has evolved quite a bit over the years. In the 90s, one might have considered Brad Pitt in Fight Club to be absolutely jacked.
Yeah, now he's probably considered like not. He's more like a skinny, muscular kind of guy, you know?
But if we fast forward 7 years, we can see how our desire for more muscle reflected itself in the movie male physique.
And then if you look at the way Rob Liefeld draws everything, it looks like shit. It's also very muscular, guys. Look at this. Every character in Rob Liefeld's drawings are overly muscular. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing? Who gave this guy... What the fuck? Get out of here. Who gave this guy a platform, you know what I mean? What the hell is this? This is insane. Every one of them. Okay, well, you know...
I remember seeing Gerard Butler's physique in the movie 300 when it came out in 2006.
Yeah.
I was only 9 years old at the time, but I do
That movie's pretty epic, you know?
remember thinking that a body like that was completely unattainable, only reserved for dramatic depictions of life. Though he may have looked unbelievably good,
Didn't they CGI a lot of that?
Butler reported in interviews that he was working out for 6 hours a day, quote, ruining his body just to maintain that level of physique.
There's just no way. It's crazy because I feel like there's a ton of that too. Where people were like people who like train will lie about how much they're eating, how much they're training, et cetera, and it's already impressive. Like I used to watch a lot of strongmen. There's this guy named Savikas. He was like world's strongest man consistently, and he's like he would talk. He's like, yeah, there are people talking about how they eat 10,000 calories a day, and he's like, bro, I'm eating like 6,000 to 6,500 a day. Like these guys are full of shit. It's just weird how like people will sensationalize their training just to be fucking crazy. Either that or they're doing a ton of junk for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But there's no way this guy's training for 6 hours a day to look like that. You might be training for like 2 hours a day, which is a lot, but 6 hours a day? It's no fucking way.
A completely unrealistic lifestyle for the average person. Still, this was a movie where a lot of young men looked up to the main character, and many of them began working out in the hopes that they could one day look like Gerard Butler.
True.
How do you think...
And then you too could kick an ethnic man into a well. Who wouldn't want to do that, dude? Who wouldn't want to do that, guys?
An ideal like that affects the mental health of an adolescent boy. In extreme scenarios, they spend all their time lifting weights, revolving their life around the gym and eating healthy, disregarding any other areas of development. And when their efforts always come up short, their self-esteem plummets,
True.
Never being satisfied with how they look.
Well, just even figuring out how to get your routine working the right way is fucking annoying as fuck too, man. Like, I started going back to the gym last year, and it was brutal. You know, I was older, and I was on more medications, and it made it so much harder to work out correctly. Like, I was on a medication called Farxiga, and I realized that was probably the biggest issue. And Farxiga, you drink, it makes you urinate a lot. It makes you piss out a lot of sugar and salt out of your body. Right, because it's for like diabetes, basically. And it worked really well. But when you work out on it, it's hard to hit the point where you're actually hydrated. It's really tough to be hydrated on that medication. And so for a long time, I'm going to the gym and I'm just making like almost non-existent progress because I'm like, what the fuck is happening to me? It wasn't until I started going at night that I started to make a little more progress. And I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then coming off of it, it's been like, oh, I can go whenever I want to the gym. It's so much better. You can actually hit progress because it's just like being dehydrated fucks you up. It really will kick your fucking ass.
Despite looking better than most kids their age. Through the early 2000s and then 2010s, the ideal male physique would continue to grow in size. A study conducted in
Well, now we've hit burnout. Now like girls are like, I want a dad bod, which I don't even think is true. I think girls I don't think girls want an intimidatingly large guy. But if girls see a guy that's like, you know, a little chubby but like muscular, that's what they want, dude.
2006, the same year 300 came out, concluded that action figures have become more muscular and larger over the past 25 years.
Yeah, that's true. But that's also because of better technology. Those old things, everybody had like the same head and same body, basically, because they can only do so much variance, you know?
Another piece of pop culture, James Bond, saw its most recent actor, Daniel Craig, boasting a much bulkier physique than Sean Connery's James Bond in the 1960s. Just about every form of media that had an attractive male star saw their muscular ideals grow in size.
Damn, he's veiny as hell. He's vascular. Vascular as hell, dude. Crazy.
As our culture continuously pushed the standard for what is considered strong and beautiful. And a lot of these actors are accused of using steroids to enhance their physique and
yeah, The Rock is definitely on fucking gear. What do you mean?
Reach that standard. This is not necessarily a problem on its own. Actors want to be extremely dedicated to their roles, and steroids might allow them to do that without having too many side effects, so long as they keep the dose low and get off of it when filming is over. But
it's called cycling. You got to cycle your dosage. But it's like the problem was when you lie about it. And again, I get why they have to lie about it. But like The Rock's on gear, and it doesn't take away from his shit. But like he's on gear. He probably has somebody who helps him on like a cycle on and off, and you know. So
many actors often lie about the drugs they are taking, making it seem like their physiques are attainable without any performance-enhancing drugs.
Did he juice? Did he take steroids?
No. I love my job and I love Wolverine. I got to be careful what I say here, but I had been told anecdotally what the side effects are of that, and I was like, I don't love it that much.
Again, this perpetuates a masculine...
He's on fucking... It's hard to get lean, dude. It's tough. It's very difficult to get that lean and maintain like that level of leanness. I think there's like bodybuilders who talk about how they get so lean to when they're in prep for a show that their skin feels like it's gonna like snap. It's crazy. He's on something there.
Ideal that is becoming increasingly more difficult to live up to. And when men find the masculine ideal is farther and farther from their reach, two things will happen. They will either go to extreme measures to get as close to that unrealistic ideal, taking dangerous supplements, ruining both their physical and mental health in the process, or they will give up on the idea of looking like that completely and tell themselves that they will never be good looking enough to deserve acknowledgement and validation.
That's why I try to live a philosophy of just trying to be better than myself. Because if you compare yourself to other people, you're a failure. If I compare myself to other people in every facet of my life, I'm probably a failure, right? Like in my career, there's a ton of content creators who are more successful than me. Obviously, body-wise, there's a ton of people that are more in shape than me, you know? And so I just try to compare myself to myself. And it's like, oh, like if I compare myself to myself, I'm doing pretty well when it comes to my content creation. If I compare myself to myself, I'm doing well when it comes to like my weight loss and getting off of medications and getting healthier and going to the gym. I've been consistently going 3 days a week for the past year, you know, just getting in there for a long period of time. And I've been getting there. So I'm doing better than myself, because you really have to. It can be motivating to compare yourself to other people, but sometimes it can be mentally destructive. And I think a lot of the times you have to have a good relationship with the way that you compare yourself to other people, because like I think that's a big part of the problem online right now, where there's a lot of young people who are very distressed mentally because they're going on and they're looking at other people on social media and they're like, that guy's really successful, I'm a fucking loser. But like, you don't know what's going on behind that guy's Instagram post or TikTok post or anything. That guy's probably struggling a lot with their own problems, but you're looking at them and you're comparing. You're like, oh, I hate myself and I hate the where I am at right now, and you hate yourself in an unmotivating way. There's productive shame where you're like, oh, I want to do better. That's great. But you get to the point where it's like, oh man, I will never be like X, Y, and Z. And oftentimes you can get better. Sometimes it just takes some time and some luck. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really start hitting any meaningful anything until like 30. You know, it takes a while. I think people are maturing more slowly too. So, you know, fucking 25 is the new 25 is like 21 development wise. You know what I mean? Like it just takes so longer to get everywhere. You can't even live on your own. How expensive the housing market is. Like your development's constantly going to be curtailed. Like you can't compare yourself to like your parents. They were out of the house at 18 because they could afford to live on like minimum wage. You can't even afford to live on like a middle class wage.
But there is one form of media that has
Sorry, weird.
to more havoc and done more damage than any other forms of media that have existed in the past few decades.
Porn.
And that is, unsurprisingly, social media.
Oops.
I just so happened to be getting into fitness and bodybuilding when I was in college in 2015, right when the first real fitness influencers were blowing up. Guys like Sean Thompson and Christian Guzman became figures that I looked up to as a teenager because they were very relatable and transparent about what it took to look like them. I began setting up a workout routine that revolved around my studies and social life. When I'd go to the dining hall, I'd make sure to add a few extra slices of pork or chicken to my plate. And soon I was beginning to see my first glimpses of those noob gains.
Looking good, dude.
As they're called. The progress was addicting. It was the first time in my life where I felt like I had complete control over the results I was getting in something, and that positively translated into other areas of my life. I had more energy, I felt more confident in social settings, and my discipline was easier to call upon.
I feel that, man. I'll tell you, like when I'm working out, like I feel better health-wise. You know, my diabetes doesn't feel like it kicks my ass as hard. Even when I'm just walking too, I gotta walk hopefully tonight. Been trying to like strength train 3 days a week and then try to walk like 5 or 6 days a week. It's been tough because I wait for my wife to get home and sometimes she gets home late because her job's kicking her ass. But yeah, man, you just feel better. Who would have thought you feel better working out? It's also something to look forward to. It's also like a nice source of just frustration reduction for me. Is like going to the gym. And like if I'm angry, like it'll make my anger, because sometimes you get so angry you want to break things, and I hate to say that because it's not a fun thought, but like sometimes you get so angry I want to break stuff. It's not productive. But when I go to the gym and I work out and I lift weights, that I've satisfied that feeling of breaking shit. I know it sounds silly, but I've satisfied it, and I feel better. I'm like, oh, it's hard to satisfy that feeling. Especially when you have anger problems, which I'm not proud of, but that's kind of like how life is. But going to the gym and working out, it will satisfy that anger in a very productive way. At least that's my experience. Do I always train to failure? No, I don't. Like, what do you mean to failure? Like Hakutua? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll talk about my routine, but I don't feel confident enough to talk about it. Because I don't want you guys to run my routine and then like risk losing gains. I would say if you haven't worked out before, buy a book called Starting Strength by Mark Ripto. Read that book. Look at resources at like Alan Thrall to learn how to like properly weight train. And then Wendler 531 is a great resource too. It's a more of like intermediate routine, but it's a great resource too. But
when the social media fitness industry really started gaining traction through mediums like Instagram,
dude, where's all the girls and their asses, bro? This is a gay ass. This is a gay ass feed, dude. What the fuck?
That's when my self-esteem started
be like the Twitch CEO. Also, what is this guy doing?
To take a dip again. Only this time it stemmed from an expectation I could never reach. As the fitness,
that's what I'm talking about. Like those guys are probably miserable. Like you see how big and muscular they are, and God bless them, they've put in a lot of good work, but they're probably fucking miserable. They're probably miserable. They go home and they hate themselves. So you don't want to compare yourself to them too much, because just understand that doesn't mean that they're the most happy people in the entire world just because they're very successful in their craft of bodybuilding.
This industry continued to reach new heights in revenue every year. More and more teens were being exposed to the lifestyles of fitness addicts on social media. Extreme fat loss routines, how to bulk up fast, the one exercise that will blow up your chest. These were the type of engaging titles that got,
I bet they learned that exercise in Israel,
clicks and drew the most attention. My fitness regimen began to evolve with it. I was now around 2 years into my bodybuilding journey.
That's another thing you're going to get hit with too. Like if you do fad training, you're never going to make any progress. That's one of the biggest problems with like fad training, of like, you're going to get this. This will happen if you do this. It's going to kill your gains. The biggest killer of gains is routine ADHD. And a big contributor of routine ADHD is reading tabloid like bodybuilding or powerlifting or strength training articles that are like, hey guys, this'll make you explode, and then trying to copy like what your favorite person does. You're not going to make any meaningful gains because you're changing your shit too much. You need to consistently run a routine and like track your progress. That's what you need to do. You want a bigger chest, you just pick a bench variation and increase your strength of it. Because if you could bench like 225 for 10, you're probably bigger than the guy who could bench 135 for 10. So that's really all you got to do. That's one of the things, you know what I mean? Like that's a very basic way to do it. Once you get into that area where you're like super advanced, where you're like sculpting your body, things will change. But like you really don't have to worry about all these complications. You want a bigger chest, bench, and like incline is good from like an aesthetic bench perspective. Don't even do decline. If you want to hit the lower chest, just do dips. Like you don't need to do decline. It's fucking stupid. You want bigger shoulders, like overhead press, side raises too, probably. Overhead press can sometimes be difficult on like the medial delts to like necessarily grow them. Maybe do some overhead press. Want bigger quads? Squat, dude. I'm telling you, fuck you up. You want it's crazy. I don't. That's the only thing I don't have problems with is my fucking quad size.
And I built a respectable physique for myself. And so, with the influence of these influencers, I started an Instagram account in the hopes of becoming a fitness figure myself.
All right.
A lot of you still don't know this, but for several years, my entire brand and this YouTube channel revolved around fitness and bodybuilding content. With 2 social media accounts dedicated to this.
What does it do now? It's funny
Every
because
generation has
shut up, dude, shut up. Oh, he just talks about different issues and mental health issues. Basically, this is kind of cool. Like Gen Z health crisis, kind of a similar. I don't know, man. Like I struggle to do workout content, because once I start working out for content, I hate working out. That's literally it. Every time I've tried to do it, I'll fall off very quickly because I just don't want to keep up with it. So I've kept it mostly private as I've been doing my thing and struggling, because it adds another layer of expectation of like, oh, I have to succeed. When I do it by myself, I get to fail and not feel too bad about it, because I don't feel like I'm letting anybody else down. So that's why I don't do my own fitness channel or anything like that.
It became ingrained into my identity. And because of that, everything I did had to be in alignment with my bodybuilding goals. At the same time I was growing my pages, an occurrence that was mainly only reserved for celebrities was growing in popularity amongst fitness influencers online. And this is
none of these guys are natty. Definitely not Mike Owen.
When the fake natty epidemic really took the internet by storm.
Are you saying that Mike O'Hearn is not natural? Are you kidding me, dude? What?
Ever since steroids became available, there's always been people who claim to be natural to appear more marketable. Because when you look incredible...
I remember Rich Piana would talk about how he was natural all the time. And he never was, and I never believed it, but people did. And then after he stopped working out, like associating with a team, he all of a sudden he's like, yeah, guys, I'm not natural. like God bless him for. But this is Rich Piana, who, rest in peace, died because he was on so many steroids. I think he had a heart attack. Terrible stuff, man. You know, but he was a cool guy. So that's crazy.
But you convince people you're natural.
How often do I hit the gym? I just do 3 days a week usually. So, and the only time I really missed the gym was like when we went to Disney. I missed a couple of weeks of the gym then.
You feel more...
No, steroids don't make your, like a test doesn't make your pee smaller. It makes your balls shrink a little bit. It's temporary.
Relatable to the average consumer. Like I said earlier, it makes them feel like they can reach the same level as you so long as they put in the same work. And many people see using steroids as a shortcut or cheating, making you generally less likable.
I think steroids it's not bad. Like everybody that makes money doing a sport is on some kind of gear, especially bodybuilding or powerlifting or strongman. But like, it's not a cheating, because you still have to work hard. You just shouldn't start too early. You should try to get like as much as you can get out of being natural, and then kind of cycling on if you're going to do that. Like, you shouldn't go on any steroids, but that's how you'd want to do it. But there are people who just jump right on and they're like, look, I'm making progress. It's like, you didn't need to do that.
Now that social media was so popular,
Rich Piana
this gave any average male the opportunity to take advantage of naive young boys and build a following online.
Remember when Liver King said he was natural and he was spending $11,000 a month in PEDs? That was fucking crazy.
So long as they had an impressive enough physique. A study titled Male Body Portrayals on Instagram, conducted in 2020, wanted to evaluate whether those with more muscular physiques received more likes and comments than those who look smaller. And they found that posts depicting men adhering to high levels of leanness and muscularity received significantly more engagement than those who didn't.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. It's like the halo effect. What's funny is it's mostly men. When you get to like bodybuilding like levels of size, you're getting positive affirmations from guys. You're not getting any of it from girls anymore, because most people in general, when it comes to their level of attractiveness, like somebody that's like relatively attainable for them, and or maybe slightly outside of their attainability, not somebody who's like a fucking freak, you know. And I say freak endearingly. Like, these like freaks like fucking Jay Cutler, incredible. Like, I respect them, but like, you know, sexually. And I don't think that's their motivation. I don't think Jay Cutler is doing bodybuilding for female attention, but you know, it's just you're getting it all from men. So,
oh, big fucking shocker. The guy who looks absolutely shredded is getting more likes than the thin, scrawny guy. But I needed to cite this study to emphasize what's about to come. Promoting your physique on social media is not inherently bad. When it's accompanied with some inspiration and good advice, it can actually be a huge force for good and influence people to pursue healthier lifestyles. Yeah. The problem, which amplifies the rise of bigorexia, comes in when you have thousands of influencers promoting their physiques, which can only be attained using performance-enhancing drugs, that claim they are natural just to sell more of their products and supplements.
Yeah, and it gets additionally bad too, because you'll see people like this that will post on a forum what they do for training. And outside the fact that like they won't be specific, they'll give you like exercise and numbers. So like, I benched 4 sets of 8 to 12. That's not extra. That's nothing. Like, that's not like, oh, that doesn't give you any information. Because what does 4 sets of 8 to 12 mean? Like, do you start at like a lower amount and work your way up? Or are those a flat set of 8? Like, when do you do 12? Why do But a problem is they'll show you their routine and it'll be clogged. It'll be so much stuff. Like, I bench and then I incline, then I do flat flies. I do like, I do fucking incline flies, and then I do decline, and then I do dips, and then I'm sitting here, I'm doing tricep, like push downs. It's like, and you see these people that are on gear, and when these young people look at that and they actually think that they're natty because they're lying. We know he spent $11,000 a month on gear, or probably still does. You think that amount of volume is going to help you get bigger. It's not. You're going to kill your muscle. Like, if you're new to the gym and you're not on any gear, you shouldn't, like, your chest state will be probably bench and then incline and then maybe like one tricep movement and you're done. You should not go over that because you're junk voluming the fuck out of yourself to the point where you're going to kill your muscle. You're not going to get stronger. Your body will not physically be able to recover from more than that because you're natty and you're very new to the gym and you have to adjust to the stimulation. And so there's so many different problems with it. And it contributes to that whole thing where you're like, oh, why am I not getting bigger? It's because you're looking at people who are professionals. Oh, well, some kind of professional that are on gear. You can't maintain their levels or even get close to it. You don't need to do that much in order to make growth.
Yeah, bro, you can totally look like me. I haven't been shooting needles in my ass. All I've been doing is using my 10-week workout protocol that's linked in my bio. What's in there is my brand new supplement line comprised of a few herbs mentioned in a Andrew Huberman podcast.
What you can really do supplementally is just get a 1-a-day vitamin. It just doesn't really matter. You're pissing out most of it anyway. Get a 1-a-day, maybe creatine. I don't do it because I just don't really deal with it. It just puts more like hydration in your muscles, which isn't a bad thing. You don't really need it though. And yeah, I mean, like, you don't even really need protein shakes unless you feel like you need lean protein and you're struggling to get more lean protein. So I'll usually have like a Fairlife shake, like half and half of Fairlife like chocolate protein shake, cut with like with Fairlife like milk, which is high in with the non-fat one, so it's like high in protein to kind of get some stuff in there. But yeah, nothing crazy.
That supplement is definitely the reason that I look like this, so you better buy it before it runs out.
That was a lie.
I can think of a good handful of guys that have made entire careers off of selling an unattainable physique in the form of useless supplements and workout programs. I'm very glad I never stooped so low so as to do anything of that sort, but I would be lying if I said I was totally immune to posting the type of pictures that fitness influencers post online. Being in the industry for as long as I was, I can tell you that there were a lot of tactics used to capture the absolute best picture of yourself. First, you'd only film yourself or take a picture when you had a really nice pump after a workout. Then you'd ideally find some overhead lighting. This creates a stark contrast over your muscles and makes you,
or you just use Photoshop, dude,
look leaner and bigger. Then you position the camera at certain angles, such as from above to highlight your chest, or
it's the same thing when you're dating on a social media profile. It's called Decepticon pics. When you got, mostly girls do this. I'm just being real with you. They take a picture from up here. You got to be careful. You got to be careful.
At eye level to show off your entire physique. And for the final touch, you'd go into a photo editor and bump up the contrast and texture to make your muscles pop even more. Whoa. I cannot even begin to tell you how hard I tried to get the perfect picture. It involved different lightings, and maybe I'd go into different rooms, and at the very extreme, if I knew that I was gonna have to post on social media that day, I would refrain from eating for a long time just so I looked a little bit more shredded than I usually do. While I never used any tools to enhance the look of my muscles, I did use filters.
Especially now I bloat after I eat, so like I look a lot skinnier during the day than I do at night. It's crazy.
That made me look more shredded. After all, I needed to get at least one perfect picture after a workout, or I'd feel like I was regressing and it'd take a big hit on my self-esteem. These perfect photos are...
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine since this was your social media content, you wanted to get it out there too, hoping for positive affirmation, so...
omnipresent in the lives of young boys now. They're only seeing pictures of fitness influencers.
That dude looks like AI.
Which they only look like that 1% of the time, or in some cases, they're seeing a completely fabricated version that doesn't even really exist. Then they have the audacity to lie about how they reached that level, causing huge mental health issues among young men who will always...
Well, they already got their own mental health. That's unfortunately what you have to do to be successful in like the fitness industry. So they just follow suit and they fuck people's mentals up, you know?
feel too small and undesirable. And the hostility now for people online who would have had what is considered to be a great physique a couple decades ago is insane. There are teenagers getting their self-esteem and confidence destroyed by posting their fitness results after a few years because they don't look like the 1% that mostly get highlighted on social media.
And it's usually from accounts that don't have their face in there or anything, you know? It's like they don't even post themselves online.
Or even if they aren't teenagers and just have a really good average physique, those
The guy looks good.
guys are getting eaten up in the comments too. But I don't think this has just affected men's perception of what is considered a great physique. It's also affected women.
I feel like it's funny because if you're a fat dude and you're like, hey, I just started working out, everybody's like, yeah, good job. But if you're like, if you're somebody with like some muscle on you, but you don't look like bodybuilders, it's like, you fat fuck, you know?
Men's perception too. I see a lot of women post pictures of
Even that guy looks good. That's not even a dad bod. Dad bods are top male physique. This isn't even a dad bod. This has got to be tough to be a dude. This guy is in really good shape. Like, he has body fat on him, but this guy looks really good. This guy is obviously very muscular. His shoulders are fucking huge. He has he has a solid chest. His forearms are like, he's a big guy, very muscular guy. And this girl's calling this a dad bod. Like, this is this is one of the problems for young men. This is not a goddamn dad bod. This guy's been in the gym for like 3 or 4 years at minimum. This guy's been working hard for 3 or 4 years minimum to achieve this dad bod. Like, despite how big he is, like, and he's not that big. Like, he's not like the super body fatty. You could still see his abs. Like, and you got this girl calling it a dad bod. Bro, young men are cooked. Young men are cooked, dude. They're sitting here. When she says dad bod, what she means is like, I like a guy that has some meat on him, right? Because I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But this is I would, in my opinion, for the average woman, this is a more ideal body. It's like they want a guy that's big and muscular, but like isn't super lean, because super lean and like shredded is very intimidating. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Celebrities with what they think is a dad bod, which is
should I show my physique off, guys, in a little bit?
really just a dude in very good shape that isn't totally shredded. Just a couple decades ago, this guy would have been considered an absolute monster. But now, dad bod. This checks out with the other scientific literature we have, as it's been shown that a greater total screen time was associated with greater symptoms of muscle dysphoria.
Like screen time? Like what? Like Instagram? Yeah, that makes sense.
In both men and women. As a result, in the past few years, we have now seen more and more stories of teenagers trying a bunch of different substances and drugs, either being indifferent or ignorant to their side effects, just so they can look like their favorite fake natty influencer.
That's crazy. They'll try, and like the orals, my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, so just to be clear, orals are worse than like injections because it affects your kidneys worse. Right, so that's also like kind of an aspect that's a problem that could potentially be a problem too.
And part of this industry has turned into a melting pot of desperate, insecure teens who have no idea how badly their physical and mental health will be affected in the long run. Steroids and other hormone replacement therapies come with a
What the hell? Is that a boob?
whole host of side effects.
Looks like a weird tit gun.
Including infertility, cardiovascular issues, and a greatly increased risk of premature death. But perhaps the worst part of all this is that many teenagers know the risks that come with taking these types of drugs, but they are so obsessed with achieving this certain body type that they will destroy their lives for a chance to potentially get there.
I will say, I think that that's like 50% true. Like, we know that there's a lot of negatives associated with PEDs, but young people, I don't think, understand their own mortality yet. So you got young people who want to look big, who are following these other like really big people like Michael Hurd, who are definitely natural guys. And they're like, I could be natural like this guy too. Let me buy whatever bullshit supplements he's running, and let me go look at whatever bullshit program he's running and all this other stuff. And they're not seeing the results because, well, I wonder why. And so what do they do? So then, like, what's the outcome? Okay, I'm going to take like a PED. And these kids haven't like hit the point where they really understand their mortality. It takes like a lot of self-awareness. And so by the time they realize like, oh man, like I could die, They're like 30 years old and they've been on gear for like 5-10 years or so. And it's just normal to their lives, and they just bypass it because they could never come off of the drugs at that point, because it would just distress them to such a degree that they would be significantly mentally distressed to a point where like they're end their own life anyway. And so it's a really sad process. It's just a really sad thing.
When I was at my very biggest, around 222 pounds, I remember how much worse I felt on a daily basis. And this is without the use of any performance-enhancing drugs, which I've never used. It felt like my entire day was dedicated to eating. By the end of the night, I had to force feed myself just so I could be bigger. On days where my abs didn't show as much, I might go so far as to do an extra workout when I was sore and increase my risk of injury just so my shirt fit a little tighter that day. I didn't sleep as well because I was eating so late, and this began to take a toll on my mental health.
It's terrible. Bro, one of the craziest things that you'll start to understand as you get older is that if you eat late, it's going to fuck your whole day up. Okay, heartburn is real. When you eat late, you're probably going to have heartburn, and you're not going to be able to sleep. And as you get older, you're not going to realize, but like heartburn feels like a heart attack. Or at least that's what you think it feels like. So you eat a bunch of food before you go to bed, and then you lay down and you fall asleep, and then you wake up and your heart's pounding. And I mean pounding out of your chest, and you're like, what's happening? And then you go to the hospital, which I've done before, and you're like, yeah, I don't feel well. And like they'll ask you a bunch of questions, and it turns out like when you lay down, that's when you're getting like boom, 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 boom. And it's because that stomach acid is creeping up. It's creeping up, and it's making you feel like they're thinking you're having a heart attack, and it's really just acid reflux, and it really messes you up. I've had that happen to me, man. Like you don't get people don't understand how bad heartburn gets. Like it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and like it's probably the biggest reason why I've been getting healthier, because I just can't handle having heartburn. So I've been slowly getting healthier, eating better, because I can't handle having heartburn. It makes me miserable. I can't sleep, and I hate my life with heartburn. So I try to eat better. And I'm also like taking omeprazole too, which like cuts down on it. But that's it. Like for me, unfortunately, a big motivator is like how horrible I feel with heartburn. Heartburn's been the worst. You know, I'm diabetic too, and having to piss all the time, that sucks too. But heartburn has been the worst feeling that I've ever had. It's the worst. It really is the worst. And now I sleep like a pillow to elevate my body, and it fucking hits my tailbone in a way, and my tailbone hurts, and everything sucks, dude. You just get older and things just get worse. It's terrible. But you adjust, and you know, usually you get older and you start making more money, I guess. So there's your positive. I don't want people to think it's all bad, but it's brutal, I'll tell you that.
And if I missed a couple days at the gym because life got in the way or I went on vacation, I'd start getting anxious and worried that I was losing all my gains. I
think it takes like 2 weeks to start losing your gains, so you're good.
In the mirror, and here would be this objectively muscular, large man, but what I would see is an average to below average looking guy with a little bit of muscles on his body who didn't really deserve to be called a bodybuilder or an athlete or anything related to the fitness world. But nobody would know this unless I spoke up about it, because I looked like a fit, strong dude. That is why bigorexia is so dangerous. And if we don't start to change the fitness culture and give young men more realistic ideal to live up to, we're only going to see more young men suffer from this disorder. Look, nobody can deny that young men's increasing interest in fitness and health comes with a ton of benefits. Like I explored in my last video, young people are doing less drugs, drinking less, and placing a heavy emphasis on different protocols to live longer and feel better.
Yeah, like I said, I think that going to the gym is great, and it's good for your mental health as long as you try to be better yourself instead of try to like compare yourself to other people. You want to have a good relationship with the gym, you know? And even when you don't make progress for a week or so, sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh, being in the gym has just made my life better, so that's good, you know?
Like all things,
sometimes you hit a point where you're not making progress and you're just like, what's going on? And it makes you not want to go anymore, but that's obviously not the way to go.
It becomes a problem when it's taken to the extreme, and the current digital landscape of social media often rewards extremes over authenticity. While I no longer consider myself to be a fitness influencer, I'm still heavily invested in a fit lifestyle. Only now, I've cultivated a much healthier balance with it. My goal is no longer to be as big and muscular as I can, but rather have a fit and functional body. One that can lift heavy weights, yes, but also be athletic enough to sprint fast, run long distances, and be mobile and flexible. Does that mean I miss a
Fuck mobility. No, I'm kidding. Squatting has been really good for my flexibility.
workout every once in a while? Yes, but it doesn't take away from the progress I've made. If anything, it makes me make more progress in the future because I am more well rested and I have a better workout. I've started to prioritize getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night, and my energy
That part I could probably do better at, to be honest with you.
levels are ironically way higher than
I bet this guy put the camera on and then pretended to wake up. What an asshole, you know?
when I was overexerting myself lifting weights. And you know what the funniest part is? I'm 22 pounds down from my heaviest weight, but I personally feel like I look better than I ever have.
Yeah, sure.
And
He also looks happier.
that's because my perception of my physique is no longer distorted by the media I consume. Okay. You know what? Sometimes it does come up. I'll check my abs in the mirror, make sure I'm still like shredded, but it's a lot better than it was back then. If you're struggling with the same body image issues I've struggled with in the past, I really recommend putting a bit of distance between you and the online fitness world. These guys almost never look the way they do in photos and videos in real life. You want to know what they actually look like? Here's me with a pump in good lighting, and here's me with no pump in bad lighting.
That's crazy. Jesus.
They're almost incomparable, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people's physiques anyway, especially not the edited fake
He's also obviously flexing here, but damn, that's a crazy difference. He's probably also pushing his gut out, but damn, that's so crazy.
natty ones on social media. Everybody has their own genetic potential, and that means you might never reach what is genetically achievable for that guy you look up to online, even
sense.
if they are a lifetime natural. And that is okay.
It's hard to know if they're telling the truth. What is it, like Jeff Nippert or whatever? That guy's probably natural. You could trust that guy, but
Fitness is about looking good, sure, but the primary focus should be about feeling good.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just part of you just trying to better yourself. I mean, physically working out is a great idea. It's just a good idea to do something for your physical, whether it's like weight training or even just like walking or running or Zumba or just something for your physical you should do to keep your body in a healthy spot.
And if your fitness regimen right now is doing you more harm than good, then it's time to switch things up and honestly do a lot of inner work. The more that you ask questions like, why am I placing my value as a
Ew, girls!
person only on my physique? And
It's got to be tough to work out when your feet don't touch the ground, bro.
ask questions
Because, like, how do you get the leverage, you know? That'd fuck me up.
like, why am I placing my value as a person only on my physique? And where might this insecurity have developed from? That's when you start to build awareness around this problem. And when you build awareness around your problems, that is when you start the process of developing a better relationship with yourself. We need more realistic representations of body standards in the media.
agree, dude.
So if you're someone who posts about
I
bodybuilding
agree.
or fitness,
I agree, dude. You know what? You guys think we should get more realistic? Do we think we should get more realistic depictions, guys? Should I show you my realistic body? Is that what I should do, dude? Listen, I'm doing this for the video because I'm actually really self-conscious, but I still want to do it because I feel like it's part of the video. And I've been working out for like a year, and I kind of want to unironically just be like, hey, here's the progress that I've made in my fitness. I'm not I'm super self-conscious, okay? Don't make fun of me, dude. Don't make fun of me, dude. Okay? All right? All right? So, there's the top. I know it's not very big. I know I'm still fat, you know? There's the top. There's the tricep. Nothing crazy going on. Oh. That's the top. All right? I've been losing a little bit of weight. I know it's nothing crazy. My traps look good, I'll tell you that. But I wanted to show that off a little bit, you know, making some fucking progress. All right? All right. There's that. And then we'll do the quads next, dude. We'll do the quads next. That's really important. All right? This is all hopefully I got to remember to edit this out of the video. All right. We'll do the quads next. We'll see what we got there. Here we go. There's that. That's getting a little bit better. Getting a little bit more muscular. This is probably where I really shine. Honestly. So Yeah, man. Maybe, you know, a little more of, I guess, a realistic body type.
Be the person that isn't afraid to be
Wait, I should probably put it back to this.
Whoa! Be vulnerable about their body image issues and occasionally makes posts about what you really look like most of the time, just like I've done in the past. If you're someone who still struggles with bigorexia, it's going to take a lot of self-acceptance.
I just struggle with big fat fuckorexia, so.
Maybe even additional help from others to finally break this addiction and get back to a healthier lifestyle. But I promise you, you look way better than you think you do right now.
Thank you so much.
Self-acceptance is something I struggled with for years, especially as a teenager. I've made a lot of videos explaining my stories and the struggles that I've gone through and how I've overcome them in a lot of videos. So check out this video on that, which might help you. And I'm leaving. Goodbye.
All right, that was a cool video. I like that. That was a fun one. I like that. Let's give it a like.